daffodils adapted, but like the tulips, they're not from around here.
Yeah.
I forgot where they naturally grow, so...
Yeah, because like the whole point of the color is to scare animals away, I forgot. But yeah. How far away is the Whole Foods?
It's like 20 minutes.
Oh.
I think I'm going to get water there anyway.
But yeah, so do I have tennis?
The what?
Do I have tennis?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I wanted to go at 2 so that I could have more time.
Yeah, but it's still like, it's not till 5, so you have like 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because my friends were thinking of going at like 3 or 4, and then I said like, and then I said why don't we go like 2 so we have more time.
Yeah, okay, we'll just make it up next Friday, I guess.
Yeah, because like I've really only gone to like a few places downtown.
Oh, okay. Westwood.
Oh, okay. Is this where where the Whole Foods is here?
No, it's in Woodcliff Lake. It's like another 10 minutes.
Oh, okay.
This is Hillsdale.
Oh, okay.
We were looking at a house around here too.
Oh, okay.
There was like a Toll Brothers Town home development around here somewhere.
Mm.
I think it was up there actually. It might have been up here.
Aren't like most houses on the market owned by like realtor companies?
It's no turner. Now, like a lot of these homes, they're owned by the realtors. Just sell them. They don't really own them.
Oh, okay.
What do you call it?
Like the realtor companies, like they don't own the homes, like
No,
they help
they
sell
just-
them.
Yeah, they just sell them.
Then why are like all the realtor companies signs on like homes?
What do you mean?
Like all the realtor companies have signs on homes as if they own them or something.
No, that's just like to show who's selling it. So, like whoever, if somebody else is gonna decide to sell a house,
Oh, okay.
then it's like advertising to go with that company.
Oh, okay.
This is Woodcliff Lake.
Oh, okay.
This is gonna be Montvale.
Oh, okay.
Well, we're looking for houses around here too.
Yeah, like.
This is where Wegmans is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's over there, Wegmans. We were here before. We were here before this shopping center.
Huh?
We eat sushi over there. That Wegmans over there.
Like a year,
Like 2 years ago.
when we still lived in
Yeah.
New York. Oh, yeah, like we went looking for a house, and then after we were done looking at houses, we went to a grocery shop
Yeah, it's over there.
to eat. We went to a grocery shop to eat some
Mhm.
sushi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
school is this? Oh no, that's not the good one. That's the Hills. I think Passac Valley was the good school.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember either. Like this was the good one for Montvale or Passac Valley. I don't remember. This is Passac Hills High School.
Oh. Is it good?
It was okay, but it wasn't that. What's wrong here?
Yeah, so I just texted my friends. I'm gonna go downtown around 2 or 3.
Oh, okay. Schools. Oh, you almost went to this school
Oh yeah.
right here.
Yeah.
this way to go to Whole Foods
Mhm.
and came back around this way.
Oh, okay. Where did you go?
Where? Oh.
It's just by the Whole Foods.
Yeah, right there.
Oh.
Dropping you off in the woods. I'm gonna drop you off over here. Okay, go ahead.
Alright, see ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on, we're going to tennis.
What?
We gotta work off the junk food calories.
Okay.
And it's still time. You stay there late anyway, so it doesn't matter. we're gonna drop you off and go find a place to park by the water company.
Okay.
Because we're not supposed.
Okay.
You know what it is? Because it's getting warmer and golf season's starting again.
Yeah.
The people who pay money to go golf there, they don't want to like not have parking and whatever. So that's why they're making these rules. That's all the parents dropping the kids off and getting out of here now. After the email. I'll be here at 6. have like this in a car and there's a crash, your airbag goes off like this and it like scoots up the hip and whatever.
As if the McCrispy couldn't get any better, Bacon and Ranch just entered the chat. The Bacon Ranch McCrispy, available at participating McDonald's for a limited time. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
How do you know if you're ready to join the Air National Guard? Well, you're probably already halfway there. Whether you're interested in the world's most advanced aircraft, love careers with high intensity, or just want to become the best version of yourself, the Air National Guard gives you the freedom to choose the career field you want while remaining close to home, full or part-time. Click or tap now to get a playlist that'll help take your skill set to the next level and find out how you can serve your way in the Air National Guard.
Chipotle's new Chicken Al Pastor is where fire meets flavor. Starting with chicken fresh off the grill, combined into a rich marinade of seared morita peppers and ground achiote, balanced with a splash of pineapple for the right amount of heat, and finished with fresh lime and hand-cut cilantro. Chipotle's new Chicken Al Pastor is fire on every level, only available for a limited time. Order now in the app for pickup or delivery. Chipotle, for real.
Powered by How, an 8-part podcast series from Reuters Plus in partnership with Aramco, will explore innovations and technologies aiming to move us towards a more sustainable future. Aramco powered by How. Listen now.
deadly sins, 7 ways to win, 7 holy paths to hell. 7 downward slopes, 7 bloodied hopes, 7 are your burning fires, 7 your desires.
You gonna go hang out with anybody this coming week?
I don't know. I don't think anyone's doing anything.
You should ask, or just what do you call it? Ask or offer yourself.
I'll see. Oh, it's a drive-through bank?
Yeah, but I'm gonna just go here. I just like going this way. I'm gonna go inside for a second.
Continuous recording will now start. GPS connected.
Starting route to I-2I. Proceed to Lewis Street, then turn left.
Oh, here. You can listen to this for college crap.
What's that? The trauma essay?
Yeah, but the essay.
Collective.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
It's TED Talks Daily. I'm your host, Elise Hugh. There is a familiar narrative in college admission essays.
Turn left.
Trauma.
Turn left onto Lewis Street.
Story. You know what I'm talking about. In her 2022 talk from TEDx UBC studio, student reporter Tina Young makes us think about the consequences of all of us expecting stories like this and what universities could do about it. After a short break. TED Talks Daily is brought to you by Progressive.
At the light, turn right onto Closter Dock Road.
By switching their home and car, save nearly $800 on average. Quote at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $793 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2021 and May 2022. Potential savings will vary.
Oh, it's taking me to Garden State Parkway.
Hey everyone, it's Adam Grant. Welcome to Rethinking, my podcast on the science of what makes...
Turn left onto DeRee Avenue, then turn right onto High Street.
I'm an organizational psychologist, and I'm taking you inside the minds of fascinating people to explore how they think and what we should all rethink. This season...
At the light, turn right onto High Street.
How to know when you've succeeded.
When I see some of these athletes heading into their retirement years, deciding to retire, I literally say out loud, good for you, because I know the struggle that an athlete goes through at the end of their career.
Find and follow Rethinking with Adam Grant wherever you're listening.
There's a story of mine that I've told about 1 million different times, and it goes a little something like this. When I was 10, my family and I packed up our entire lives into large suitcases and dragged them across the Pacific to a foreign my grade. And I got teased for my broken English, Asian features, funny-smelling ethnic lunches. The racism was a real doozy, but don't feel bad. Through the magical healing powers of extracurricular activities and pure perseverance, I stand before you today a new woman, healthy, healed, and extremely employable. You wouldn't even be able to tell from just looking at me that I was once the weird little immigrant girl who begged her mom to pack PB&J sandwiches so she wouldn't have to eat lunch alone in the bathroom. This is a story that I've told in academic essays, job interviews, and even in the very application that got me into this fine university. It's also a story that, despite all of its truth, I've come to hate. Now, this is a story that I don't have copyright claim over. It's one that continues to be regurgitated by immigrant kids all across the country to be served on a silver platter to prestigious universities who chew these stories and spit out acceptance letters.
because everybody has a story like that.
The content of the story may change.
Attention to them that
Instead of a difficult immigration experience, it might be the death of a loved one, a chronic illness, or a racist encounter. But what remains constant is the moral. A bad thing happened to me, but it made me a good person. This is part of the larger phenomenon that I'm here to talk about today. The overwhelming pressure being put on high school students to write about their deepest traumas in their college applications, with the hopes that they seem resilient and interesting enough to be given a spot. I believe that these are not only bad metrics by which to evaluate applicants, but also incredibly harmful to the storyteller themselves, and risks reinforcing existing inequities in higher education. There's also pressure that's being amplified by admissions counselors themselves, who play a huge role in influencing what applicants decide to write about. Take, for example, this tip from the MIT admissions blog, where the author compares two different introductions for a potential essay. The first one reads, "I'm honored to apply for the Master of Library Science program at the University of Okoboji. For as long as I can remember, I've had a love affair with books. Since I was 11, I've wanted to be a librarian." The second introduction reads, "When I was 11, my great-aunt Gretchen passed away and left me something that changed my life, a library of about 5,000 books. Some of my best days were spent arranging and reading her books. Since then, I've wanted to become a librarian." The author notes that the second introduction is much more striking and leaves a much better impression. Consider another tip from collegeessayguide.com, where he advises students to get personal. He says, "Weirdly, including painful memories and what you learn from them usually helps a personal statement meet the goals of a college application essay. You come off as humble, accessible, likable, and mature." Confessions from admissions officers themselves can also be telling. Ayo Waller-Bay, a former admissions officer from Georgetown University, said in a Forbes article that, "Within months on the job, I saw how the personal statements of Black and other racially minoritized students differed from those of white applicants. Black students highlighted resilience through stories of survival, while their counterparts wrote casual essays about service abroad and sporting championships. Black students shared their pain, white students shared their passion." Now, lastly, and perhaps the least reliable source, is my own life. I remember feeling this way when I was applying to universities. Like I had no other choice, no other experiences worthy of mentioning, and no other merit beyond the fact that I had thrived despite what I had gone through. I even remember worrying that my tale wouldn't be harrowing enough after hearing from a counselor that writing about immigration has become a bit of a cliche because of how overused it is. So, what's the university's role in all of this? And why are these stories even harmful to begin with? Well, I believe that using your college application essay to discuss your trauma actually doesn't help you process it. There are a couple different reasons why. First, writing about a difficult experience is, as you may have guessed, difficult. Not only do you have to relive the event itself, but you also have to actively suppress any negative emotions that arise during the process. That kind of emotional labor can be taxing for anybody, but perhaps especially so for these young applicants who haven't had enough time on this world to process the terrible things that have happened to them. For that space to be one in which they're confessing to a faceless stranger who gets to make the most consequential decision of their adolescent life imposes an incredibly heavy psychological burden. I mean, imagine if you walked into your therapy appointment and your therapist tells you that they're not going to respond to anything you tell them except with a rejection or acceptance email sent months later. And also that whatever you tell them would determine the trajectory of your entire academic and professional career. Hard to imagine that being therapeutic. Secondly, the trauma essay makes one assumption that is extremely problematic. It's not always the opportunity through which you can gain more confidence or develop better time management skills. Sometimes it's just a sucky thing that really sucks. And asking students to prove how they turn their pain into progress ignores this truth and falls prey to the toxic positivity narrative that everything happens for a reason, ignoring the very valid resentment and anger that many victims still feel. Lastly, the things we write aren't just informed by our experiences. They shape how we view those experiences as well. And if we're writing about our trauma to prove to an admissions officer that we are worthy of a decent education, then it becomes necessary.
Speed check reported ahead on Washington Avenue.
Our pain.
They must
To
use
make
like a
it
central
marketable
database
and
for like this stuff
strategic.
then.
To scrub away all the
In half a mile, turn left onto Washington Avenue.
all that's left is what will fit into the narrow margins of what is palatable. And this is what I see as being the fundamental contradiction at the heart of the trauma essay. It seems to give the writer free rein of vulnerability, but actually leaves them very little room to be vulnerable. Your story has to be just sad enough that it gains sympathy, but not so sad.
Go past this light, then at the next one, turn left.
Makes you see beyond help. Just critical enough to inspire change, but not
At the
so
light, turn left onto Washington Avenue.
It actually criticizes systemic structures. Just honest enough to seem real, but not so unfiltered that it creates discomfort. The protagonist also overcomes whatever struggle they're facing by the end of the 500-word count, instilling the reader with a sense of optimism that despite our deeply unequal society, it is possible to rise through the ranks and overcome all the isms. This, of course, is not the reality of our world today. And for
Hey, would you like a sneak peek into the future of wellness? We talk about longevity and anti-aging quite a bit on this show. And on this episode, I bring on two experts, super smart experts, who share their ideas about the future of medicine and how it's going to be personalized, how it's going to be predictive and rich from your own data. Be that your hormones, your blood tests, your microbiome, your proteins, and other data from your own body. Plus, we also discuss how the complete information on your health is going to be available in the palm of your hands. Stay tuned for a really exciting episode. Hey, my friend, getting older sucks.
In 2.2 miles, turn right to merge onto Garden State Parkway South.
The big question is this: how do you stay young for as long as possible and have beautiful skin and hair, all-day energy, create a healthy body, and keep your mind sharp so you can feel confident and live your best life for much longer? On this podcast, I interview the world's top experts in health, anti-aging, longevity, and get them to share their secrets. Join me on this journey to bring you easy and practical tips that you can use to look and feel young for a long time. I'm your host, Faraz Khan. Welcome to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast. Are you looking to get thicker, fuller, and stronger hair naturally without using any hormones or drugs? After years of painstaking research, we've created a 100% natural hair wellness system called Fully Vital. I've been using it to keep my hair thick and healthy. See how it works and how you can use it to get thicker and healthier hair as well at fullyvital.com and use code ANTIAGINGHACKS for 15% off your purchase. Hello, my friend, and welcome back to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast. Today I have not one, but two very credentialed guests. The first one is Dr. Leroy Hood, who's developed the DNA sequencing technology that made possible the Human Genome Project and is the co-founder of the Institute for Systems Biology. He's a pioneer in the fields of systems biology, proteomics, and P4 medicine. He has won the Kyoto Prize, the Lasker Award, the Heinz Award, and the National Medal of Science. Dr. Leroy Hood co-founded the Institute for Systems Biology in 2000, served as its president from 2000 to 2017, and now serves as Emeritus Science Advisor. Nathan Price, who's the second guest, is the Chief Science Officer of Thorne Health Tech. and professor at the Institute of Systems Biology. In 2019, he was selected by the National Academy of Medicine as one of the 10 emerging leaders in health and medicine. He received the Grace A. Goldsmith Award for his work on scientific wellness and has co-authored over 200 peer-reviewed scientific publications. With that said, Lee and Nathan, welcome to the Anti-Aging Hacks podcast.
Great, thanks for us. Great to be here.
Like I was saying earlier, I think you two might be the most credentialed guests I've had on the podcast, so I'm super honored to be asking you a lot of questions.
In 1 mile, turn right to merge onto Garden State Parkway South.
So in that sense, please go back and tell us how you got into health and wellness and what do you do now?
So I'll start. I probably got into health and wellness when I was 6 years old and my youngest brother was born with Down syndrome, which no one had any idea as to the cause at that time. And I was intrigued by the complexity of this whole process, apparently, and where we needed to go next. And that led to a career as an undergraduate at Caltech, an MD at Johns Hopkins. And then later I went back and got a PhD at Caltech and went on and was a faculty member there for 22 years. And I think remember very clearly when I started at Caltech in 1970, the whole question of the complexity of human beings and how we deal with it. So one was a question of how do we measure this complexity, and two was a question of how will we interpret the complexity, and three was a question of how we could convert that insight into better health for human beings. And that really is the trajectory that I followed. From Caltech, I went to the University of Washington and started the first cross-disciplinary department, molecular biotechnology, that really pioneered many of the genomic and proteomic and phenomic kinds of techniques that we're now employing. And then in 2000 started the Institute for Systems Biology, where we began that translation of coming to understand how this complexity operated.
The hell?
Just as much, and were quickly eclipsed by other Greek city-states, especially Athens. And by the time Rome set its sights on the conquest of Greece, Sparta wasn't even a military power. Wealthy Romans would visit Sparta as tourists and play act being Spartan warriors, reenacting battle. Scenes that they read out of Plutarch. This is a good episode that delves into what we think we know about ancient history, but despite all the bunking, still gives us plenty to appreciate about Sparta. Hope you enjoyed this discussion with Mike. And one more thing before we get started with this episode, a quick break for a word from our sponsors. Whenever I go to buy something online, I already start to feel annoyed because I know the internet is going to follow me around like a stalker offering similar products and services, because just by looking at that thing online, my browser is already loaded up with cookies. Now you might be thinking, why don't you just use incognito mode? Because incognito mode doesn't hide your activities. It doesn't matter what mode you use or how many times you clear your browser. Your internet service provider can see every single website you've ever visited. That's why when I'm at home, I never go online without using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers so your ISP can't see the sites you visit. It also keeps all your information secure by encrypting 100% of your data with the most powerful encryption available. It runs in the background and it's incredibly easy to use, download, and install. Protect your online activity today with a VPN raid. One by Business Insider. Visit my exclusive link, expressvpn.com/un.
There's only one good review of the M2 that I've seen so far.
3 months free on a 1-year package. That's expressvpn.com/unplugged. Go to expressvpn.com/unplugged.
People just aren't used to it.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to anger a lot of Spartan fanboys with this episode, and there are a lot of them, thanks to the movie 300, which we'll get to in great detail. Let's start off by puncturing the myth of the Spartans by comparing them to the great power of the ancient world, which is the Roman Empire. I've seen a lot of questions online asking how the Romans could have ever conquered Sparta when the Spartans were able to beat back Persia, which were another great power of the ancient world. And I was shocked to learn that by the time Rome shows up, they don't really need to. Sparta is a shadow of its former glory, but at this point they've fallen so low that they're cynically exploiting their culture, and they're a tourist trap. If you want to go to a quote-unquote dude ranch as a Roman and play act being a Spartan, Sparta will provide that for you. So can you tell me about the sad state of affairs of Sparta by the time we get to the Roman period?
Sure, yeah, happy to. But I want to provide a little more of a nuanced answer, and first I want to give a little bit of a preamble to explain why. When I first wrote The Bronze Lie, it was in the midst of the kind of, terror, existential terror, right? The whole world is yanking to the right and to the left, dealing with this, populist rising, not just in the United States, but around the world. And one of the things I set out to do in writing this book was make an unabashed, leftist, revisionist history of Sparta, an accurate one. I stand by that. But the goal was absolutely to deprive the far right, and we'll talk more about that, of the ancient Spartans as a galvanizing symbol, which is something that they used. But one of the things I was horrified to discover, even before the book was published, is that the course globally, not just nationally, but globally, reached such a point of toxicity and misinformation that I found my own tribe, the people on the left, were sort of picking up the narrative of the Bronze Lie and spinning it even worse and demonizing the Spartans.
Which way does it go?
Sort of, holding them up to be complete failures because that was a club they could use to beat their political opponents on the right with. I was horrified by this. And one of the things, again, I stand by the book. The facts are the facts, and the points I've made in it still stand. They don't fit into a 280 character tweet. And when someone asks me, I just did a blog post for my publisher, Osprey Publishing, which people can find with a Google search, called the No Deadliest Warriors, that people always want essentialism, right? They want a thing to be one thing and one thing only. Who were the best warriors? Who were the toughest? Who were the worst? Were the Spartans good or bad? And the answer is no. The answer is that's incredibly essentialist. And the truth is that they were complicated and flawed human beings, heroic sometimes and failing sometimes, just like everybody else. And that's not a very satisfying answer, unfortunately, but it's the truth. And the truth is what we're after when we, well, as close to the truth as we can get, is what we're after when we study history. Otherwise, what are we even doing? Well, I tell you what we're doing. We're engaged in, I guess, self-soothing or entertainment, if that's not what we're after. So I wanted to give that preamble because my answer is more nuanced. Yes, Sparta was absolutely a tourist attraction for wealthy Romans at the point where the political and military independence of Greece had really been subsumed. When exactly that is a matter of debate. I'd say the dominoes were really falling after the defeat of the Antigonus at the Battle of Pydna in 167 BC. And, there's plenty of examples of Spartan boys being flogged to death almost at the altar of Artemis Orthia, sort of the main god in town, as this sort of public display of the agoge, the famous upbringing, right? The training that young Spartan boys were supposed to go to become warriors. This for Roman tourists. But what I'll say is, I don't know that Sparta had necessarily declined or had moved into a sad state. I think that they were pivoting to deal with the transcendent power of Rome, which was covering all of the Mediterranean basin. And in fact, Rome's power projection over Sparta was exercised primarily through other Greeks, like the Achaean League. So long before Rome's military was a thing that Sparta needed to deal with or bow before, it was really Roman policy that was pushing other Greeks into action. So I just want to make that point that the answer is probably a lot more complicated. I'm sorry to steal the thunder out of the question.
We'll get into that, and it is a complicated question, but there is another aspect of Spartan society I would like to look at, and that's the myth that develops after their diminishment and their ends. We mentioned 300, but of course 300 isn't the beginning of the Western fascination with Sparta. I don't know how many high schools there are in America that have Sparta as their mascot. We say Spartan, there are Spartan races, somebody who lives a simple ascetic lifestyle is Spartan. So where does this myth come from? Is it just because of Thermopylae, or does it develop over centuries?
The only honest answer to that, and to a lot of the questions about Sparta, is we don't know. You have to remember that the Spartans didn't write about themselves. We have no literature from the Spartan point of view. But we do have some epigraphy, which is to say, like grave markings and things chiseled into stone, but we don't have any literature. So we're necessarily dependent on external views, primarily from Athenian writers at the time. Herodotus, I guess he's a Greco-Turkish writer. I don't know how to classify him, but they're necessarily outsiders' views which engage in other. I will say this, the myths we have about Sparta, about their not liking wealth, about their service to the state above the self, about their military undefeatability, they mostly come from Plutarch, who's writing in the 1st century.
At the next light, turn right.
Where's this?
Well, Westfield, I think. I have to go. Turn around.
The United States has yet to elect a female president, but over a century ago, there was a woman
AD. And we have a lot of Hellenistic writers that are looking backward at this. And when you really dig into the evidence, of course, Lycurgus, the famous sort of founder of the titular Spartan state and the lawgiver who sort of lays out this really ascetic and self-denying society, is a myth. The guy did not exist, and there's not any evidence to suggest that he was a real person. He's really a story put forward by Plutarch. And when you look at Hellenistic kings of Sparta, most notably Cleomenes III, we see them using that legend to justify their own despotism in the Hellenistic age. Cleomenes in the end of the 3rd century BC. So it is very possible that Sparta never was that way, and that it's a story written by later leaders projected backward. To kind of perpetuate that myth. Now, you bring up Thermopylae, which, contrary to popular belief, is one of the greatest military defeats. It was an absolute disaster, both for the Spartans and the Greeks, that accomplished absolutely nothing. It was a speed bump under the wheels of the Persian war machine, as I say in the book. People get furious when they hear that, but it is the truth. It is what the facts support. Well, Tom Holland, the author of a fantastic book on the Greco-Persian Wars.
Because what do you call it?
Yeah, I know.
Sometimes you get crazy people like this.
Yeah, I know. He's already in jail though.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he got jailed.
For what?
For like all the other stuff that he did.
Oh, okay.
Like, he got caught beating someone up. Like, there's like 7 people in his quote-unquote gang.
Mm-hmm.
And, he got caught, or they got caught beating up someone for like...
Oh, okay.
For trying to... Because they're like vandalizing a train with like graffiti. And someone tried to call the police on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat up the person calling the police on them.
Oh, okay. They don't look that strong. I've seen the pictures.
They look like the default characters from Fortnite.
Oh.
Like that's their build. I still want to go to the city next week though. But they don't know anything about me, like how I look or anything.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know how they think they're gonna kidnap me.
What's next week?
Well, not next week, but this week.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Oh, no, I mean, okay. I forgot to no school.
Yeah. Because, like, Mommy said that, like, you can, like, if you go into, like, work this week or something, and then I can just, like, go around, and then, like, meet back up at, like, the, I don't know, like, the bus terminal or something. Like, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like, as a test to see, like, if anything happens.
What do you mean?
Like, she basically said that, like, this week, I can just, like, if you go into work, like, do you usually, like, drive into work if you're going in, or, like...
I'd probably take the bus. I don't know. This, like, when I went with Andrew this past week, it was,
Traffic?
No, it's like, yeah, we took the bus, but there were so many people on the street. I heard the traffic is really bad now.
Oh.
It's not like a couple of years ago.
But yeah, she said, like, if, like, you take the bus in, you go into work, and then I sort of just go around and do what I need to do, and then meet back up on, like, at, like when you're finished.
Go get the bags. I can go to the store.
one chip is like people who don't have any snacks will pay like $1 for a chip.
What kind of chips?
Barbecue. Basically any type of Lay's or Doritos.
Would you go to Costco? You buy the big thing of Doritos.
Yeah. Well, people like Lay's more.
We've seen the cost of wind drop
Plus,
almost as much, and now
plus a lot of Jewish people can't have
pork.
Yeah, they can't have Doritos they can't have Doritos. Well, they can't have any chips actually. Well, people like Lay's more anyways.
Oh, because they have like pork products in there.
Well, also wheat.
Oh, okay.
Because kosher.
No, wheat's kosher. You can't have wheat like in around Passover time or something.
Yeah.
To power industry, to provide weeks or months of storage on the grid, and to provide
a ton of my people, a ton of Jewish people in my school, they like
here,
yeah.
And I won't claim this is happening quickly
my school
enough
also marks up prices, but like the thing is,
but what's happening
here if you want to get a Costco membership, and you can
technology.
You can run a prison black market in your school.
Did you know that the whole reason did you know that Costco makes 80% of their money from memberships?
Yeah, I think the products are like that close to it, and the profits are the membership.
Yeah, they buy. You save money if you buy like 54 things. If you buy like 54 things per month, then you can save. Then you can save like $100 like per month.
It's cheaper to build solar and wind than it is
because like
fuel into
my school they sell snacks, like they sell packs of Oreos. Not like they sell those like tiny packs of Oreos with like 6 Oreos in it. They sell those for $1. They also sell a bag of Lay's, those small bags.
Yeah.
They sell bags of Lay's and Doritos for $1 and Pirate's Booty for $1. And sometimes they have variety products like brownie brittle. And every Friday they also sell ice cream. So there's like ice cream sandwiches, fudge bars, stuff like that. And they sell those for $1. The only snack or dessert that's over $1 is the cookie ice cream sandwich.
All of us want clean energy infrastructure, but many of us don't want.
And like I think so you can get like a giant pack. If we go to Costco, you can get like a giant pack of like snacks for like $10, and we can sell it for 50 cents. But I have to bring a lot of change because people don't carry around change. They carry like dollar bills.
Europe and North America.
So if I want to sell them for 50 cents, I have to bring a big bag of change.
Okay.
Yet Germany allows now 2%
and like
in Germany.
I'm pretty sure what I can do is I can just like, because I gotta show up to lunch super early and just like I gotta show up to lunch super early and just sell stuff. I used to buy snacks from one of my friends and then sell them to other people for market prices. Like one of my friends was selling stuff.
Even like without Costco, we can just go to Stop and Shop around here.
Yeah. Cause like one of my friends, he sold me like 4 things he sold me like 4 packs of chips for $1, and I sold each of those packs for $1.
Okay.
Fossil fuels, and yet
I could even get like a cotton candy machine or something and like make cotton candy and then sell it for $1.
There's like you can get cotton candy in Mom's Organic on Route 17. They sell like packs of cotton candy. But yeah, there's cotton candy machines.
Here's why we need it.
Yeah.
The solar resources of Europe. The most sun is in the south, of course. The most wind is in the north. by the way. And this is averaged across the year.
Yeah, because
In
like,
winter, it's
I don't
much
think
more dramatic. In winter, you have 1/7
there's like
the solar
tons of
resource
people.
in the UK
There's like tons of
that you
people
have
who
in
like don't
summer.
want
You
to
have
pay because like the
1/6
school marks the
solar
prices because like
resource in Germany that you
realistically
have
there is
in
no
summer.
there is
So
no
every
there is no
model,
small
every
there is no
simulation
bag of
weather
Lay's chips.
and
There's no
energy
small
demand
bag of
shows
Lay's
that if
potato
you
chips,
want to
plain
have the
chips that cost
highest
$1.
reliability grid at the lowest cost with the
I don't think I'm
least
gonna. I
carbon
might.
emissions and the
I
most
might.
clean
If I
energy
bring like
deployment,
if I bring
you want
something
to
that can
build
freeze
a
stuff, I might be able to sell the ice
continent-sized
cream
grid.
for
In Europe,
$1.
it would bring wind from the
I can
North
sell it every
Primary, the
day
North
except
Sea, but
Friday
also
because
on land,
I could sell
hydro
I
from
could
the
sell it
Nordics,
Friday, but
and solar from the south. And these would be countercyclical.
because those ice cream
more
stuff they're like
sun
low
in the
quality,
summer,
so they probably
more
don't cost
wind
much to buy
in the winter.
retail.
This is slightly oversimplified,
And if I can
but
buy
this
like
is the sort
five
of
of the, I
system
can buy
that would
5
allow
boxes of
Europe
those
to
things for
decarbonize the electricity sector
$5
to some
each,
degree of
and then
storage
if
and
they carry
hydrogen and
like
so on,
no, if I can buy
nearly
5 of those things,
completely at
and they
a
carry
lower
like
cost
for
than the
I can carry
system
5 of
today.
those things for like
That same
$3 each, and
Oxford
I
study
carry
I
like
showed you
7.
says
They
that
carry
a
like 7
rapid
ice cream
transition
sandwiches.
to
I can
clean
make like
energy,
$4
because the
profit
more you deploy, the cheaper it
per
gets,
box.
would save us $12
Just saying, we can go to Stop and Shop. Even Costco's kind of far away from
not
here.
even counting
Yeah.
We can just go to Stop and Shop.
Now,
I have to set up clients though.
of course.
Okay.
We have the technology and the economics.
Like
In
I have to set up
China,
clients.
the bulk of energy demand is
like
on the east coast. Yet
what
the
happens at my
greatest
school is they don't just like go
solar
randomly
resources and
around
wind
to each
resources
table.
are in the
Because like my
interior.
school doesn't
And
actually
China
allow
is
this.
building literally
They do
scores
these they
of
like
high-voltage power
people at my
lines
school
that
they talk to
transmit
people in their
power from where the sun
classes
and wind
to set up the deals, and then
where the energy
just
demand
before
is.
lunch
And
at the lockers they
longest
do
of
the
these
deal.
lines right now,
Or they
right by
just
the
do it
Shanghai
super
line,
early in the morning,
3,400
or not in the morning, like
kilometers
super early
long.
at lunch.
It is 90% efficient, very low losses, and
They
it
like
adds a
do
good
it
penny or two
they like do
to
it
the
super
cost
early at
of
lunch.
electricity.
Because like you
That's
can't just go
what's
around to each
technically
table
feasible
like
with
asking
current
like
technology,
selling stuff.
let alone advances.
That would be a
In
good idea
Europe,
if I knew how
that would
to
allow us to
hide
transmit
my
electricity
snacks.
from Sevilla to Copenhagen.
Some people do
to
that
bring
though.
power from the North Sea to anywhere on the continent that needs it. In my home country, the United States, we could bring power from the sunny, wide open areas of New Mexico to population and land dense New York, which doesn't get so much sun, and we could take wind power from the Great Plains that are largely devoid of population and bring it to the coasts in winter. That is what a modern grid looks like. And yet, we are not building this. Now, let me give you 2 pieces of data that will back up my assertions about how powerful these issues of permitting and
see, there's a lot more cars now than before. Because people are playing golf, and there's probably a lot more before.
I don't know why they don't just set up 2 parking spots.
In the United States,
and it's going to be even more as it gets warmer.
Solar
It's going to
and
be
wind
even
power
more.
today, and
Why don't they just like
solar
they
over
can
the
either
last year.
build like a smaller parking they can build like another parking
Very
spot
smart
for
audience.
golf,
It is the
or
great
they can
state of
like
Texas.
Oh, there's the
Now,
deer.
Texas has no climate policies to speak
or they
of.
can like
It
split
has
up this
no
parking lot into 2
incentives
spaces.
for solar or wind
It's
to speak of.
for the
It
golf
does have
people for
abundant
paying
land
membership dues
and
or whatever.
abundant
So
sun and wind.
Yeah.
We can't all duplicate that. But it has 3 other things we should think about. One, it has an open market for electricity where
There's
the
still gum in the
cheapest
backseat.
provider wins.
No, I don't want.
And that should give us confidence of what is actually winning. 2, permitting in Texas.
You have your
is
phone, right?
Relatively
Okay.
easy.
I think you're just saying that because mommy
To
wouldn't
build,
like to have
easy to build fossil
No, I don't need
infrastructure.
chewed anymore. I don't like
But
it.
it's easy to build
Alright, bye.
clean infrastructure, and that's what's winning out. And 3, Texas is the easiest state in the United States to build electricity transmission. Not as easy as I'd like, but it makes it easy. Those last 3 factors are factors we can replicate in every nation, every state, every geography on planet Earth, and they would accelerate this transition. Now, in August of 2022, we passed the largest U.S. climate bill ever, Inflation Reduction Act. In Europe, we have a massive push on clean energy as part of the energy crisis driven by the war on Ukraine. Now, I want to reveal at the same time that we failed at something. In late September 2022, we had a permitting bill in the United States
that would have made it tremendously easier to build the continent-sized grid that we need in the U.S. It also made it easier to build fossil fuels. Yet every analysis showed that
Continuous recording will now start. GPS connected.
slaughter. Say, fetch your daughter, bring me your daughter. Fetch your daughter, bring me your daughter. Bring me your daughter to the slaughter. Bring me your daughter. Bring me your daughter. Bring me your daughter to the slaughter.
to make the most of